So in today's video, I'm gonna try to clear some of that up for you. I am someone who does value some privacy, but there's definitely some questions that
Hey everyone! Today we're doing something super exciting and a little different. We're diving deep into the world of one-star reviews. But this time it's not for a restaurant or a hotel. Nope. We're testing out one-star reviews for the most luxurious, celebrity-approved, and outrageously expensive grocery store in America, Erewhon. Now, I'll be honest, I didn't even know much about this place until I started hearing people talk about the famous $18 smoothie. You've probably seen it all over TikTok or Instagram, that perfectly blended, celebrity-endorsed drink that everyone either swears by or completely roasts online. Erewhon has this reputation for collaborating with celebrities to create signature smoothies, each one more Instagrammable than the last. But beyond the hype, this grocery store actually has a long and interesting history. It's not just a trend. It's a fully certified organic market, a certified B Corporation, and its entire brand is built around clean living, sustainability, and high-quality products. The shelves are perfectly curated, the lighting is warm and minimalistic, and the layout makes you feel like you've stepped into a luxury wellness resort instead of a grocery store. Of course, that level of perfection doesn't come cheap. Everything here is ridiculously expensive. We're talking about grocery prices that make even Whole Foods look affordable. But that's what makes it fascinating. Whenever something becomes this popular and exclusive, people naturally have mixed opinions. For every person who swears it's worth every penny, there's another calling it overrated and pretentious. I've been watching Ryan Trahan's videos lately, you know, the ones where he tests one-star reviewed places, and it got me thinking. We've tested low-rated items before, from food to gadgets, but never a grocery store. So this felt like the perfect challenge. I have no idea how this video is going to do, or if anyone will even care about this experiment. But honestly, I'm just curious. I want to see if the complaints are valid or exaggerated. So, I spent a few hours scrolling through Google reviews, picking out some of the harshest one-star ratings I could find, and today, we're going to test them all. Most of the complaints talk about long wait times, rude or unhelpful staff, and most commonly, the absolute nightmare that is parking. Right now, I'm sitting in a parking garage. Yes, we've officially arrived at Erewhon, and I'm already mentally preparing myself for what's to come. People say it's a celebrity hotspot, so maybe I'll spot someone famous, but I'm mostly here to see what the real experience is like. And for anyone wondering, no, there aren't any Erewhons in Canada. I'm filming this in California, where the brand really built its reputation. I've got my camera ready, my notes pulled up, and a list of the worst reviews to test. The first one that caught my attention was from someone named Orchid, who simply wrote, "Parking is a nightmare." So let's find out if she was exaggerating or completely right. One of the most common complaints I saw in the reviews wasn't just about this specific Erewhon location, but about almost every one of them: parking. Apparently, it's a recurring nightmare for a lot of people who shop here. Luckily, and quite miraculously, I actually had a pretty decent experience finding a spot. Well, technically my dad did, because he was the one driving. There was no way I was going to face California traffic alone. I love a challenge, but LA freeways? That's where I draw the line. How was parking? I asked him as we finally pulled in. He shrugged and said, "It was pretty good. Actually pretty simple." To be fair, it was a Tuesday around 12:30 in the afternoon, so not exactly peak shopping hours. I imagine weekends are when the chaos really begins, when every influencer in Los Angeles decides to swing by for a smoothie and a photo op. We managed to get a spot without circling endlessly, but even then, the parking garage was surprisingly full. I remember looking around, kind of shocked, and honestly, a little nervous, because I had hoped that coming midday would mean a calm, quiet filming experience. But this is California. Busy is the baseline here. You could show up at sunrise and there'd still be someone ordering a matcha latte in activewear. Still, we found our spot, grabbed the camera gear, and started the short walk to Erewhon. And can I just say, for January, it was stunning outside. Around 20 degrees Celsius, clear skies, palm trees swaying. It was one of those moments where you think, okay, maybe this is why everyone moves to California. The sun was warm, the air smelled faintly of eucalyptus, and everything just felt right. Until, of course, 2 seconds later, we realized we had been walking in the completely wrong direction. Classic. Once we finally made it to the entrance, I remembered another one-star review that stood out to me. A reviewer named Victoria wrote, "Market was fairly nice. I didn't stay too long though due to the noise. I couldn't even hear my companion talk. Is there a way to make the music even louder? Please." Her sarcasm was chef's kiss. I laughed reading it, but she had a point to prove, so I was curious to see if she was exaggerating. And honestly, she wasn't wrong. It was definitely loud inside, but not for the reason I expected. It wasn't the music. It was the blenders, those $8 smoothies everyone talks about. Yeah, they're probably a huge source of revenue, but they also make the entire store sound like a construction site. We recorded both with a little external mic and straight from my iPhone. And when I played back the iPhone audio, it was wild. The blenders were just roaring in the background. It made me think back to Booster Juice. I don't even know if they have that in the States or if that's just a Canadian thing. But they use the same Vitamix blenders and at least have those little sound guards that lower down to muffle the noise. It's still loud but manageable. At Erewhon though, no guards, no muffling, just full volume smoothie chaos. On one hand, it kind of worked out, because with how noisy it was, you could drop a glass jar, make a total mess, and probably no one would even notice. On the other hand, if you were ever stuck in the bathroom yelling for help, good luck. No one would hear you over those blenders. So, there are definitely some pros and cons to how loud it is in here. On one hand, it gives the place that lively, everyone's here and something's always happening kind of vibe. On the other hand, it's so loud that you can barely hear yourself think, let alone hold a conversation. Between the blenders, the chatter, and the background music blasting like it's a nightclub, it's a sensory overload. At one point, I even turned to my dad and said, "The music's really loud in here." And he just looked at me like, "You think?" Anyway, the next review I wanted to test came from Tammy. And Tammy's not just any reviewer. She's a local guide, which means she takes her reviewing responsibilities seriously. Her comment said, "The drink strawberry glaze is okay, but it took 20 minutes to make and I was the only customer waiting. There were a lot of employees, but they were all talking and joking around while I waited desperately for my order." Ouch, that's not a great look. She also mentioned that when she finally got the drink, it looked really good, so at least there's that. Naturally, I decided to test it myself. So we went up to the smoothie bar to order the same strawberry glaze. I was already mentally preparing for a long wait, and maybe even some snarky customer service. But honestly, things went in a totally different direction. I walked up to the counter and the guy working there immediately smiled and said, "Hey, how are you?" Then, mid-conversation, he accidentally dropped a chocolate croissant on the floor, sighed dramatically and laughed it off, saying, "Guess that's my lunch break snack now." It was such a human, relatable moment. I couldn't even be annoyed. I asked him if I could substitute the milk in the strawberry glaze for something lighter, like oat or coconut milk, and he said, "Technically, that drink's not supposed to be altered, but let me ask and see what I can do." He checked with someone, came back and said, "Okay, we can do that for you." Super nice. No attitude, no rudeness. Honestly, I was kind of waiting for Tammy's experience to kick in. But everyone was polite and friendly. Once we placed the order, I started a stopwatch to time how long it would take. He mentioned it was pretty slow right then, which was probably why he had time to chat. The vibe behind the counter wasn't chaotic, just calm and friendly. So, first impressions? Way better than expected. Now about the price. I can't sugarcoat this. 2 smoothies cost us $50 USD doors, yes, 50. I don't care how organic or celebrity approved it is, that's wild. I joked that for that price, the smoothie better give us glowing skin, a better mood, and maybe even a little enlightenment. We waited, surrounded by the constant hum of music and blenders. And finally, after what felt like forever, our smoothies were ready. They looked absolutely gorgeous, aesthetic presentation on point. Each one layered perfectly with shades of pink and cream, and they looked like something out of an influencer's feed. Since it was so noisy inside, we decided to take them outside to the patio area. Erewhon actually has this really cute setup where you can sit, eat, or sip your drinks in a calm little outdoor space that feels like a spa cafe. There's a salad bar area, a smoothie counter, and plenty of seating. Oh, and guess what? Celebrity sighting. I wasn't going to say anything at first because, honestly, I'm not the type to fangirl in public. But my dad suddenly goes, "Hey, isn't that Johnny Depp's daughter?" And I look over and yep, Lily Rose Depp was literally sitting outside having lunch. Totally casual. And yes, I played it cool. I just pretended like it was a normal Tuesday because in LA, apparently it kind of is. Anyway, back to the smoothie. It looked beautiful. Bright, creamy, topped perfectly. And I had to substitute mine with oat milk since I couldn't get coconut. I took the first sip, and I kid you not, it was so good, like surprisingly amazing. It had this smooth strawberry banana flavor that immediately reminded me of a Booster Juice classic, only more refined. My dad tried his and said, "This is delicious," and I couldn't disagree. We even swapped drinks for a taste test and both were winners. Then reality hit, the price conversion. Once we did the math from USD to Canadian dollars, those two smoothies came out to $67 Canadian. $67 for smoothies. At that point, I just laughed because what else can you do? For that price, I wanted to know exactly what I was drinking, so I pulled up the ingredient list. Mine had almond milk, strawberries, dates, collagen, vanilla stevia, and something called sea moss gel. So yeah, you're definitely paying for that wellness factor. So my smoothie ended up being the strawberry glaze, but I asked to substitute the milk for oat milk. The ingredient list was pretty impressive and very on brand for Erewhon. Everything had the word organic in front of it. Organic bananas, organic strawberries, organic avocado, organic dates, organic maple syrup, vanilla collagen, stevia, sea moss, organic coconut cream, and the signature organic strawberry glaze. Honestly, by the time I finished reading that list, I felt healthier already. But there was one thing that threw me off: stevia. I thought that was kind of strange. When you already have that much natural sugar from fruit and maple syrup, do you really need stevia? It felt like sweetness on top of sweetness. I couldn't help but think the smoothie would have tasted just as good without it. Still, between all that fruit, collagen, and coconut cream, there's really no way it wasn't going to taste amazing. And it did. It was so good that I didn't even realize how quickly I was drinking it. I looked down and half the cup was already gone.